when you go to Chuck E. Cheese or Dave & Buster's, it is mom and dad sitting at the table, kids trying to get as many tickets as they can to go trade them for widgets, and like that's not what we wanted to do.
Right.
So a lot of the distributors that I reached out to, I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I'm like, you sell those other games, put those in here. And they're like, oh, it's not going to make enough money for it to make it worthwhile. And I'm like, I don't want your business anyway.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Total Michigan, where we interview ordinary Michiganders doing some pretty extraordinary things. I'm your host, Cliff Dubenois. I am a child of the 80s, which means I grew up in arcades. And every week I would get my allowance of like $2 or $5, whatever it was, and I would immediately plunk it in for quarters and then lose it within an hour, because that's just what you did when you were a kid. So anyways, with that being said, I was very happy when a good friend of mine, Charles, reached out to me and said, hey, there's actually a new type of arcade going on. And so I came down to Fenton, of all places, to check it out. And this is actually a pretty cool setup. And I highly recommend that if you find yourself in the area, that you come by and check it out, because they got a pretty good story with them too. So sitting with me today is the owner of Last Level, and that would be Ed McNulty. Ed, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you for asking.
Good.
So Ed, why don't you tell us, what is Last Level?
So we're a retro like game bar. We do tell people we're an arcade just because that's what people associate it with. But as you go around and see, like we have a bocce ball court, we have like cornhole area, we have an outdoor gaming area with like bowling, can jam, like bottle toss, things like that. And then we also do a lot of console gaming. So we have retro consoles, so like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, all the way up through like Switch and PS5.
Right.
And then on top of like the games and the arcade stuff, we do have like a retro feel to it. So we have like a bunch of Hulk Hogan areas, like Hulk Hogan art, like Ninja Turtles, like all stuff that, you know, I loved when I was a kid. So like video game related stuff. So like a lot of Nintendo, Ninja Turtles, old pro wrestling, like 80s IPs, Jaws, stuff like that.
Sweet.
So, yeah.
So you said a term I've never heard before, game bar.
Yes.
Okay, what is game bar? What does that mean?
So a lot of times you'll get roped in, like there's a barcade, you know, and that's like strictly like arcade stuff, and now we do more than just arcade games. So we have like a board game room. So like in Ferndale, they have a board game cafe where you can go in, but they don't really have a ton of arcade games.
Right.
They also don't do console games. So we took all the stuff that I like to do. What we really tried to get back to was like more couch co-op stuff.
Oh,
so,
okay.
What rating's this podcast?
It's PG.
PG-ish? Okay. So, you know, I tell everybody when we're doing this stuff, like, if you watch kids, like, I mean, one of the most toxic places you'll ever be is in, like, an online game lounge for, like, Call of Duty or something like that, you know? So, and I think a lot of that is when you and I were growing up, right, if we were playing a multiplayer game, like if we're playing, you know, like No Mercy or like WCW versus NWO or something on that Nintendo 64 or before, and I say something to you like cross about your mom or do whatever, there's usually like immediate consequences, right? Like so if I cross a line, like I'll feel it, guys, you know, wrestle or get in fights or whatever. Online now, you really don't have that. You can say like the most vile stuff ever and there's no repercussion whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly.
And like new games are a lot of, like Fortnite's a good example of like, I lose, I'm just gonna play again. So like I lose, I play again, I lose, I play again, I lose, it's like the instant gratification like lifestyle that a lot of us live right now.
Right.
Where this stuff isn't like that. You know, like a lot of old arcade games, they don't have the saves, like the classic console games, like they don't do that. We try not to even put like one-player games on the bar consoles. Like we try to do like couch co-op, like Mario Party, Smash Brothers, Mario Kart.
Cool.
So you can bring it back to how it was when you were growing up. Same thing with like the outdoor games, like, you know, can jam, like the frisbee-based games, like the football bowling, the bowling. Just a place where you can go with all of your friends and like still go out and do stuff, as opposed to toward the end of my like last career, I noticed a big change. So like when I first started, it would be, hey, you want to go out, we'll go to the bar, we'll get a drink, or we'll go hang out, or like, hey, come over for dinner, we'll play video games. Toward the end, we were hiring like younger kids, you know, they're 22 years old.
Right.
And it turns into like, oh, you getting on Xbox later? Yep. And then they like go in their own directions, and they play. So like a lot of people aren't doing stuff together anymore.
Right.
And we wanted to bring that back. So like more like in-person, like camaraderie type gaming, as opposed to like, you know, the basement type stuff.
So I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to thoroughly enjoy this interview because what you said was such a big part of my childhood.
Yeah.
Growing up, I remember it was a big deal when the kid next to us got an Atari, and every kid in the neighborhood was at his house.
Yeah, I still remember going back and forth and like packing up, like to pack up a Nintendo or Nintendo 64. Like it wasn't an easy task back then. Like now you can just grab your Switch and like put it in a different dock.
Right.
Where before it's like you're wrapping up all the controllers,
Oh,
all the
yeah.
power cords, you know,
It's like
all that
you're
stuff.
moving that thing in a suitcase
Yes,
almost.
exactly.
Yeah. So
So-
let's talk a little bit, Ed, about where are you from? Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in the town that touches Toledo in Michigan. So like exit 2 off of 75.
Oh, right on the
Yeah,
border.
like right on the border. So we were so close. We got like our county got in-state tuition for like Ohio schools for college. So yeah, so I grew up in Erie, Michigan, like Toledo, Ohio, that area.
Right.
And then I, went through college, graduated University of Toledo.
What
went
did you
to
study when you were there?
criminal justice.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Why
then-
criminal justice?
I ended up being the police.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I'm retired now, but so I worked on Mackinac Island.
I'm sorry. How old are you? You look like you're 40.
41. Yeah.
Wow, you retired. Oh, okay. All right.
So retired from that line of work. So I did, I think it was 18 years, 2006 to 2023. So it's 17 years. So I did 17 years in law enforcement. We had a pension system, so I was able to retire. And then we started this stuff up. So, but I went to Mackinac Island. That's where I met my wife. So I worked one summer on Mackinac Island as a police officer. Then went to Adrian, got laid off from Adrian when everybody got laid off, got hired in White Lake, and then finished out my career there, and then opened this stuff.
So what was it about being a police officer that attracted you to the field?
Oh, it's probably a different podcast, but it's good. It's a different career now. It's a lot different than like when you started. Like
Right.
for good and bad. Like there's good and bad to it, but like you want to go out and do some good. And it was also at the time it still is like it's a job with decent pay. It's got good benefits usually. It's one of the last fields that still has a pension. My dad worked in a factory. My dad just retired from GM after 61 years. He's like 80 years.
Sweet Moses.
Yeah, he's 80 years old, and he worked there from when he was 18 to 79 or 80. Like
Yeah.
we just had a retirement party for him. So he was always real big on like you got to find a pension, you got to find health care, and so it was just one of those jobs that checked those boxes.
Checked all of the boxes.
Yeah, that was. So
Okay, cool. So let me ask you this question here, because it seems like there's a very short distance between you retiring and open up like last level.
Yeah, so 2018 we opened. We have a Ninja Warrior gym next door.
Okay.
So like, if you ever seen American Ninja Warrior, like
Yes.
Ninja Warrior Junior. So we have a Ninja Warrior gym next door. Like that was another thing we were like big fans of on old G4 TV. So like
Right.
old video
Yep.
game channels. So they'd play like the Sasuke stuff, like the original Ninja Warrior.
Right.
And then a little bit later in life, like 10 years later or something, I think they started doing American Ninja Warrior. Then you'd see like smatterings of like ninja gyms opening up, things like that. So it was something that we wanted to do. And back when I was younger and in shape, I was always like, I can do that,
We both thought that.
Yeah,
I
so I'm
do
like, I
that.
can do that. So we found the space next door, and me and my wife, when we went through with that, COVID hit, and like we went from COVID hit gyms and like that type of stuff and
Right.
sports pretty hard. But so from COVID, gyms were shut down during restrictions in Michigan, but retail wasn't. So in order to stay open, I opened up a card store, like a nerd store up front.
Oh, okay.
So that's what we sell, like Pokemon cards, Magic, Digimon, like trading card games, board
Right.
games, things like that. There was a Sears here. So that was 2018. And then the card shop we opened in 2020, like to get around COVID restriction stuff. And then Sears was here in this spot.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Last Sears in Michigan.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
so-
There's another hallmark to the 80s. Yeah.
So Sears was here. When we found out they were going bankrupt, so like Sears files bankruptcy, but Sears Hometown was like a different
Right.
business. Then they filed bankruptcy, so there was a Sears Hometown here. So we had first refusal on the space through our lease, so we wanted to put something in here that wasn't going to cannibalize like kids stuff, really, like where we were thinking about doing bounce house area,
Right.
but Ninja's hard. So like a lot
Yes,
of
it is.
kids, if given the opportunity, they'll go jump on a bounce house for 2 hours as opposed to like taking a ninja class, which is hard and more athletic and is a legitimate sport. So
Right.
like if given the avenue, we were worried that, like a bounce house or something like that might eat into our other business.
Right.
And I've always been a fan of video games, and we had been to other like bar arcades or like barcade type business models before. But we knew it probably wouldn't work in the population base around here unless we had a liquor license, just because Fenton's a smaller market.
Right.
And we were fortunate that Fenton Township had some liquor licenses available. So before we signed any leases and stuff like that, we went down, we were approved through our liquor license through the township. And then that process took a little bit. So, I mean, we got the keys last March, so like March of 2028. And this was a Sears, and we opened July 21st to the public.
Sweet Moses.
Yeah.
That's a fast turnaround.
Yeah, Ninja 2, we got the keys October 1st. We opened December 1st, so.
So let me ask you this question here, because I know you said that you had retired, and then you decided that you wanted to open this ninja gym. Just from a financial standpoint,
Well, I was still the police for Ninja, because I retired in 2023. So 5 years.
Okay.
I did Ninja while working for
Gotcha.
5 years. And
Okay.
then
so
we
you
were
had
able
that
to do-
stability.
Yeah, at least like we knew what was going on, you
Right.
know, and what to expect. Things
So
like
what
that.
did your wife say when you came to her and said, hey, I want to open up a ninja gym? I mean, that sounds like a Homer Simpson moment.
Yeah, honestly,
There.
she's the one that did it.
Oh,
so I
really?
was going to put Ninja stuff in my basement, and she just did not want her house
Converted
to turn
into
yeah.
a ninja
So
studio.
she started
yeah.
looking. She started looking at like businesses, and that this happened to be. And we lived in Fenton at the time, so this was like, where we lived. So
Right.
it wasn't very far away. So we were able to do everything. No, my wife's more. Like I said, I grew up with my dad. Like, get a pension, do your 30, or in his case, 60, and
Right.
get out. My wife's family like owned businesses growing up. Like her wife's family, so she was way
there
more.
You go.
She was way more like, hey, let's try this. We can do this. We can do this. So, yeah, she's good.
That's nice that you had that built-in entrepreneur right in your family.
Yeah, I'm a little grumpy sometimes, so she's way more. Yeah, she does a good job. She keeps me in check, and she can handle the people a little bit better than me.
Right.
So
this is one building here. You said it used to be a Sears home?
yeah, it was Sears Hometown on this
Hometown,
side.
that's what it was.
And next door was when we took over from Ninja, it was a Mopar factory in the back.
Oh, okay.
And up front, they sold hurricane shutters. Yep. So
Interesting.
yeah. So when they moved out, that's what started that. And we got those keys in October of 18.
So then at some point in time, when this became available, you decided to get it. So now you've got the whole building, right?
Yeah.
When did you first have the idea about last level? Where did that come from?
So during COVID stuff, I was trying to replace all the revenue that we lost next door. So a lot of stuff was coming up on Facebook Marketplace. So I bought a pinball machine, I bought a claw machine, I bought like another prize machine just to try to get something over there. So like if the kids are hanging
okay.
out, or after birthday parties, we were still hosting birthday parties. So like I started just like picking up things here and there.
Right.
And then when this became available, I was like, okay, I gotta make some calls to people to get large amounts of arcade games. So I actually called a different Ninja Warrior gym that they're more like family entertainment center. So they're called Adrenaline Monkey in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
And the general manager there, super nice lady. I called her up and I'm like, hey, who does your arcade machines? Because I'm thinking about, maybe getting some more, doing stuff. And we had the space, so I was like, we could put some around, just looking
Right.
to add on to get a few more revenue streams going. And she put me in touch with a guy in Cincinnati. I called him. I'm like, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. And he actually put a package together for me. So I was able to buy like 13 machines for a really good price.
That is amazing.
Yeah, so like then I got those. Once I figured out this is what we're going to do and we got the liquor thing, then I was like, okay, I have to go buy some machines. And I did. I got it. He gave me a really good deal. I got like 13 machines for 13 grand, which is like unheard of on a lot
That
of
is
them.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
That is.
So
And so I want to go back and unpack a couple things here real quick. You mentioned before about how you were focused on creating multiple revenue streams. And I say that because so many businesses out there literally have one. and if something happens, like with COVID, your funds pretty much dry up. Where did you get the idea to do multiple revenue streams?
My bank account. So
Your bank account. Okay. That's all right.
As it shrinks down, you got to figure something else out.
We got to do something else
and
to get money through the door.
Yeah, we Ninja never recovered after COVID. Like we had like a 40-person competition team where we used to travel to, we have like 12 now. We did.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. We used to have like 25 in kids in class all the time. We're down now. We keep it to 15, but we have less staff. So like a lot of sports stuff, especially like niche sports, didn't really recover as easily as like, the traditional like football, baseball, that type of stuff. And Ninja, we actually lost a lot of kids that Ninja was their main focus, because Ninja was super hard. So when they didn't do it for 6 months, like you lose all of that. And all these kids are just like, I don't want to work for another year to get to where I was beforehand, so they branched off. So we lost like a big group of like core Ninja kids. Yeah. So, and it's like, it's shown challenging, I guess, to like get back to that. Like it's still doing good, and like you can see it start creeping up, but especially after the COVID stuff, we always took a hit when T-ball started. Like you would get, Fenton was a big T-ball town. So like all those kids would start T-ball, so memberships would get put on hold. And then the summer, birthday parties are a big revenue stream over there. So in the summer, birthday parties dry up because it's hot and people do outside parties. So we were just like, we have to get something to like shore up like on both sides, like during the down times.
Sure.
So, and then the cards helped out with that, because cards is pretty steady throughout the year because it basically just goes on release schedule.
Right. For our audience, we're going to take a quick break to thank our sponsors. Once again, you're listening to Total Michigan. I'm your host, Cliff Duvenois, and we're talking with Ed McNulty of Last Level in Fenton, Michigan. We'll be back after the break.
Hey, if you are enjoying these great interviews, just take a moment and go to totalmichigan.com/join, and you can get these episodes sent directly to your inbox, because there's a lot more great stories coming. See you there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Total Michigan, where we interview ordinary Michiganders doing some pretty extraordinary things. I'm your host, Cliff Duvenois. Today, we are at Last Level, located in Fenton, Michigan, and I'm talking with Ed McNulty, the owner of this game bar, arcade.
Yeah, bar and games.
So yeah, I'm learning new terms already. So anyways, so Ed, before the break, you started talking a little bit about how you were reaching out basically to brokers to start getting like pinball machines and things like that. First off, I'm kind of curious about this because I do see them every now and then, but are there people out there that actually like restore pinball machines and get them working again so they can sell them?
Yeah, so we actually, our pinball tech, he just came in and he's got a bunch in his basement, and his same thing, similar to mine. The wife is like, you got to find something. So he actually routes our pins for us for storage space in the pole barn. So he brings like his old pins where he has a spot to like work and do stuff on them.
Right.
And then in exchange, like if our pinball machines go down, he comes in and fixes them for us.
Right.
And then we had another guy for all the other machines, just very knowledgeable, super passionate guy that was just coming in. And then he's got a extensive like Japanese rhythm game collection, like Chunithum and like DDR and stuff like that. And he was like, hey, we can put some games in. And it's hard for me. So to back up, most companies, so when I first started, to be like, okay, how am I going to outfit this thing? Because I got a really good deal, which helped me out in the beginning.
Right.
But a lot of these new games, like we have an old NBA Jam, and I paid like $900 for it. Like I found it somewhere.
Sweet.
Like get that, put it in here. All of our, like anything I can get for reasonable is on free play in here, just so people can come in and play. It's a 4-player game. But like the new NBA Jam, it's NBA, it's something, they changed it, but it's the same game essentially, like upgraded graphics and stuff. 20 grand.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I called the company that, like there's a like arcade distribution that essentially like routes games for you, and then they do a revenue share, but they want like 70-30 because they own the stuff as opposed to you buying it, which is fine. But they only wanted to put in redemption prizes because they're like, oh, that stuff doesn't make money. So like old games like, the Donkey Kongs or the classics or like the old single player games, like they were like, they don't make any money. We don't put those in routes anymore because like they just sit, they don't get played. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want redemption. Like, I don't want this to, like, we're a bar, like, you know, there's a reason bar is first. Like, you know, it's bar and then we have the games and stuff with
Right.
it. I don't want I'm not Chuck E. Cheese. I don't want to be Chuck E. Cheese, you know? And I love families that come in, but I love families that come in because they'll play games together.
Yes,
So,
yes.
You know, when you get a mom and a kid coming in and like they'll play a game with each other. Like they'll play, you know, Bishy Bashy, or they'll go play Guitar Hero. When you go to Chuck E. Cheese or Dave & Buster's, it is mom and dad sitting at the table, kids trying to get as many tickets as they can to go trade them for widgets, and like that's not what we wanted to do.
Right.
So a lot of the distributors that I reached out to, I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I'm like, you sell those other games, put those in here. And they're like, oh, it's not going to make enough money for it to make it worthwhile. And I'm like, I don't want your business anyway. I'll go find my own. And that's
Right.
just, so I've just been buying them up. When I see them like here and there, I'll like get them. And then like, there's a lot of people that have arcade games at home, and if you can get them fixed, which like we're fortunate that we have techs and stuff like that, so I can get, you know, cheap, like that Gauntlet Legends we just picked up, like the Dark Legacy. You know, it wasn't working too great, so the guy didn't want a ton of money for it. So I'm like, I'll take it. I'm like, it's got a working board. You know, like the CRT went bad and this and that, but so you can get affordable, like old multiplayer arcade games without having to do the ticket stuff, which is, you know, it's just eating money. All those prizes just go in the garbage when the kids get home anyway. So
There's a couple things there I would like to unpack. And first off, I love how you said that your primary focus is on the family
yeah,
to come in and play a game versus like a bunch of single player games. Because the first time that I came here, that's exactly what I went for, was the single player games, and you didn't have any because they're all multiplayer games.
yeah,
So
we got some, but not a lot.
Yeah. So my question to you is that, you know, as far as this family goes, is this something that harkens back to your childhood, like you were mentioning before, about having a bunch of friends over to play, or you're all playing together?
Yeah. So like those were some of my best memories. Like me and my buddies, like sitting in their basement playing, you know, Mario Kart, Mario Party, like the 4-player games,
Right.
or more. Like that type, because you can always sit at home and play a single-player game. Like you want to be social. Like, you know, it's depressing if you go to the bar and you're just like chilling in the corner,
Right.
drinking by yourself, you know, doing this. But it is wild how many kids for birthday parties we get in that they want to play the PS5 and watch each other play Fortnite. And I'm like, no, just here you go. Here's a couple 4-player games. You can do that. Like, this is wild that you guys just want to watch somebody else play a game. But
Yeah. Well, apparently that's big business, and I'm going to say right now that falls out of the scope of this podcast.
Yeah.
So we will save that one for another day. So, and another question that I had for you that you were discussing there, of course, is that you were talking about going out and buying machines.
Yeah.
And I know that's a big cash outlay. Did you ever consider like maybe even renting them?
No, because I wanted them to, like, you know, if you own them and something goes sideways, like you at least have an out. Like if something goes bad, you're like, yeah, I'll move this. Like people don't realize how like pins are almost 10 grand. Like the pinball machines.
Right.
Yeah, so like a lot of that stuff though, but they hold value well because they are collectible. So like
Yes,
a
they
lot
are.
of these, like, you know, and we've got enough games now because like we had a good first year. So like if I see something reasonable pop up, like I'll buy it and I'll put it in the pull barn. And then that way if something breaks we can like kind of do a game rotation.
Right.
That way we can still keep stuff fresh and like get new games in here. So like I said, a lot of them are reasonably priced. Unless you start going into the new stuff, like I said, we have an older Pac-Man, like the Battle Royal, the 4-player Pac-Man.
Yes.
And it was still like reasonably expensive, but the new ones are like 24 grand. You know what I mean?
That's a
for the
chunk of
same
change.
game. And it's just like updated like cabinetry. Like it's like cocktail. So
Oh.
yeah, so it's like you can the new ones are wild. Like when you go to Dave & Buster's, like that Connect 4 basketball game or whatever,
Right.
it's like 34 grand. So like we
Ooh.
don't have that type of stuff in here. Like
Right,
pins
right.
are by far our most expensive like game that's like around.
Yeah.
A lot of them like you can get for reasonable for the reason that we talked about, because like people that route them, they don't want to throw a Donkey Kong in an arcade because it doesn't make money. But all of our games like are on free play. So like our cocktail table gets played all the time. That's got like the Pac-Mans and the Donkey Kongs, like the old games on it, because you know you're not nickeling or quartering people to death over top of it.
So for our audience, if you're just joining us, my name is Cliff Duvenois. This is Total Michigan, and I'm talking with Ed McNulty of Last Level in Fenton. And Ed, the next question I have for you is, if somebody was coming here, they've never been here before, talk to us. What can they expect when they walk through the door? How does this whole thing work?
So we're a little different, and like a lot of our Google reviews, if you read them, they'll be like, the pricing model is confusing, but it's not once you're in here, but like when you get the sales pitch like at the beginning of the door. So we do an entry fee. So adults is $5. You get $1 in tokens on entry. You get 50 cents with any drink purchase that isn't a bottle of water, like a can of pop, but like craft soda or alcoholic beverages or, you know, like energy drinks, stuff like that. And then 80% of the machines that are in here are set to free play. So out of the stuff that isn't, it's like pinball and a few other games that will take tokens or quarters.
Right.
If it spits out a prize, it takes like real money only because we give out the tokens for free. So like little kids, if we'll come up and ask them like trivia, or like we have a big sticker collection on the bar. So like if they can name the Ninja Turtles, like I'll give them $1 in tokens for like little kids so they can go out and play, you know, like that.
Yeah.
But if they don't know who Hulk Hogan is, I take all the tokens back. So I let them ask their parents, but yeah. So like we wanted to be able to give tokens out so people can like go play, and then because there are still premium games in here that'll take quarters or tokens.
Right.
So we wanted the people still to be able to play those games even if they didn't want to spend any money outside of the entry fee.
Right.
But like, you know, they'll take quarters or tokens, and then you get tokens when you know, order drinks. But the bar games are always free to play. So like we have cornhole, bocce ball, shuffleboard, bowling, can jam, all that stuff's all included. You just, you know, grab it, start playing the console games at the bar. You can always sit down with a group and play. Like the most played games by far, it's Smash Brothers, Mario Party, and Mario Kart. So like we have 2 switches at the bar, so you can sit and play like, you know, by yourself with friends. Like other people can grab controllers. And then we have like retro gaming consoles like Nintendo, Atari, all the way through, you know, the current gen stuff that you can rent tables. That's usually a lot of our birthday parties, is like they'll rent a table because they get a console at the table and they can play that stuff. So
Right.
But yeah, it's everything. We do have a lot of social games, so like the cornhole stuff, like all the physical games, and then like we do focus on the multiplayer games at the bar. And what you were saying earlier, finding single player games, like we do have single player games, like there's, you know, Tetris and Bubble Bobble and like the rhythm games and things like that, but most of the stuff has the option to play with somebody else, so you can come with a friend. This is a great like date night location. Like hardcore arcade people, they're always like, you need to get rid of the cornhole section and just line it with arcades. And I always say, well, one, I don't have an extra $100,000 lying around because like it's big section, you know.
I thought everybody did.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't have $100,000 to just line like 60 by 20 square with arcade games again. 2, anytime you go to like a real like dedicated arcade, you see like the only women you see in there are somebody's mom.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So we get a ton of people that are out on dates. We get a ton of guys that can come out with their girlfriends or wives because maybe they don't like video games. Maybe they don't want to sit and play Switch with you, but they will play like Guitar Hero, or they will play DDR. Like, you know, females, like Dance Dance Revolution has a big female like fan base that'll play the dancing game.
Right.
You can almost always, even if people don't like any video games, like they will play cornhole, they will do like the bowling, they'll play shuffleboard. A lot of people that don't like arcade games, they like board games. So we have like a really big board game selection in the back. So like I can always tell first date stuff because they start out at one of the tables and they'll play like Clask or like one of the physical games. They'll play like the old Shoot the Moon, like where you're trying to get the marble to the planets. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
They'll play that one. They go back, they'll grab board games. They go to like classics. They'll play like Battleship or Guess Who, like icebreakers stuff. You know?
Yes.
So you can actually sit down and have a conversation with someone and like go on a first date or go on like with your boyfriend or girlfriend, have a good date, and there's stuff to do for everybody, as opposed to like you go in like sweaty arcades where they're like machines lined up. Like you really don't see a lot of girls in there, and you don't see dates in there. So my wife really wanted this to be like a place for like husbands and wives, because like we play games, but she's not a big video gamer, but she'll play board games, and she likes, you know, she'll play cornhole, she'll do that stuff. So she wanted it to be someplace where you could go either with your family and your date.
Right.
And then it was also important to us that, like, I got 2 daughters. We love our kids. We spend a ton of time with our kids. But it is nice when you do get, like, just time alone, like on a date. So we go adults only at 8 o'clock. Once a month we do like a parent night out. So we'll keep the Ninja Gym open late. So your kids can go next door and do Ninja. And we have staff on file.
Sweet.
Like on, duty. And then you can stay over here with your date and like have a few hours of like kid-free time to like hang out and do stuff like that too.
Nice.
So,
And Ed, if somebody did want to connect with you, maybe come down here and check you out or find you online, what's the best way to do that?
so all our socials are like at Last Level Fenton. So that's Instagram, Facebook. Our website is just lastlevelfenton.com. And then our email is just info@lastlevelfenton.com. But either if it's the website, it's all me. So like anytime somebody sends an email, sends a message on through the website, like through Squarespace or whatnot, or any of the Facebook or Instagram messengers, it's all me answering it. So
Nice. And Ed, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us today. I really do appreciate
yeah,
it.
thank you. I appreciate it.
And for our audience, you can always roll on over to totalmichigan.com and click on Ed's interview and get the links that he had mentioned above. We'll see you next time when we talk to another Michigander doing some pretty extraordinary things. We'll see you then.